Psychological perspective in understanding the self. At the end of the session, the students shall be able to identify the different ideas in psychology about the self, create their own definition of the self based on the understanding of ideas in psychology, analyze the effects of various factors influencing the formation of one's self-schema/concept of oneself, explain the self-schema of another by applying what they learn. In understanding the self in psychological perspective, we can this concept called self-schema. What is this self-schema? Self-schema is a set of beliefs that organize and guide the processing of self-relevant information. Self-schema is like the blueprint of your self-identity. It's a cognitive structure that organizes information about who you are, what you believe, your experiences, and your relationships. Think of it as a mental map that guides how you perceive and interpret the world around you. Self-schema begins to develop in early childhood and continues to evolve throughout our lives. It's heavily influenced by our experiences, feedback from others, and our cultural context. For example, if you've been told you're a talented artist since you were a child, that might become a central part of your self-schema. Self-schema has various components. Self-concept, this is a key part of self-schema. It encompasses how you see yourself and what you believe about your own traits, abilities, and values. Roles and identities, self-schema includes the roles you play in life, like being a parent, student, or friend, and the social identities you hold, like your cultural, gender, or professional identity. Past experiences. Your past experiences, whether positive or negative, contribute to your self-schema and can impact how you view yourself. It's important to note that self-schema isn't set in stone. It can adapt and change over time, especially through self-awareness, therapy, and new experiences. Challenging negative self-schemas and fostering positive self-beliefs can lead to personal growth and improved well-being. Psychology also has this concept called self-concept in understanding the self. Self-concept is the collection of beliefs and feelings an individual has about themselves. It includes various aspects such as personality traits, abilities, values, and roles. It's how you perceive and define who you are. Self-concept is dynamic and can change over time as you gather new experiences and information about yourself. Self-concept is composed of ideal self, false self, and real self. Real self. The real self is a concept closely related to the true self. It represents who you genuinely are, including both your positive and negative qualities. Your real self acknowledges your imperfections, fears, and vulnerabilities. Embracing your real self is crucial for self-acceptance and personal growth. Ideal self. The ideal self is a concept representing who you aspire to be or the qualities and attributes you wish to possess. It's the person you strive to become, often influenced by societal and personal ideals. While it's healthy to have aspirations, an excessive gap between your ideal self and your real self can lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. Striking a balance between growth and self-acceptance is essential. False self. The false self is a persona or facade that individuals may present to the world to conform to societal expectations, gain approval, or protect their vulnerabilities. It often involves hiding one's true thoughts and emotions. Maintaining a false self can be emotionally draining and hinder genuine connections with others. It's a mask people wear to fit in or protect themselves from perceived judgment or rejection. The true self refers to your authentic and genuine identity. It's the core of who you are without the influence of external pressures or expectations. Finding and living in alignment with your true self often leads to a sense of fulfillment and authenticity. It involves being true to your values, beliefs, and desires, rather than conforming to societal or peer pressure. The concept of the false self in psychology is often associated with the idea that it serves as a protective mechanism for the true self. Here's how the false self can protect the true self's social acceptance. In social situations, individuals may create a false self to fit in or conform to societal norms and expectations. This can be a protective measure to avoid rejection or social exclusion. By presenting a false self that aligns with the group or culture they are in, individuals reduce the risk of being ostracized or judged for being different. Emotional defense. The false self can act as a shield against emotional pain or vulnerability. People may hide their true emotions or vulnerabilities behind a facade to protect themselves from potential hurt. For example, if someone has experienced emotional trauma, they might develop a false self to appear strong and composed, even when they are hurting inside. Self-preservation. The false self can help individuals protect their true self from external threats or perceived dangers. For instance, in a hostile or judgmental environment, people may present a false self to avoid confrontation or criticism, ensuring their true self remains shielded from harm. Avoiding judgment. Individuals often fear judgment, criticism, or rejection. The false self can be a defense against these fears. By projecting an image that aligns with what they believe others want to see, individuals reduce the risk of being negatively evaluated. Maintaining relationships. Sometimes, the false self is used to maintain personal and professional relationships. People may adapt their behavior or persona to be more agreeable or palatable to others. This can help prevent conflicts and maintain connections, even if it means concealing certain aspects of their true self. It's important to note that while the false self can provide short-term protection and coping mechanisms, it often comes at a cost. Maintaining a false self can be emotionally exhausting, lead to inauthentic relationships, and hinder personal growth and self-acceptance. Over time, individuals may experience a sense of disconnection from their true self, leading to inner turmoil. In summary, self-concept is the overall view of who you are, while the true self represents your authentic identity. The real self acknowledges both positive and negative aspects. The false self involves presenting a facade to conform or protect, and the ideal self is the idealized version of who you wish to become. Balancing these concepts and striving for authenticity can lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.